Hello everyone, this is part 11 on how to make a tower defense game in Scratch. In this tutorial, I'll be creating a laser tower that can charge up and shoot powerful lasers that can hit multiple enemies at once. If you haven't seen parts 1 through 10 yet, check them out, links are in the description below. Anyways, let's get started. So first of all, to create my laser tower, I want to add its turret icon to the shop. So I'm going to create one and put it right over here. So I'm going to first go to the turret icon sprite and go to costumes and create a new costume for the laser turret. So I'm going to right click duplicate and draw the new turret. Alright, so I finished drawing my laser turret, and now let's go inside of the code. And to add this turret inside of the shop, we have to create another clone of this turret icon sprite. So under this when flag clicked, let's repeat 3 times instead of 2. So that creates a third shop icon clone. And then under this when I start as a clone, we want to right click and duplicate this if shop icon clone number equals 2, and then put this inside of the else, and change this to if shop icon clone number is equal to 3. Then this is going to be our laser turret clone. So we want to switch costume to costume 3, which is our laser turret costume. And I'm going to add a laser to the turret types because this is our laser turret. And for the turret cost, I'm going to make the laser turret cost, let's say 150. So 150. And also, since we want the laser turret icon to appear over here, we want to change its Y position. So since the first turret had a Y position of 110 and the second turret had a Y position of 30, that means the laser turret must have a Y position of -50, because that would mean all 3 turrets are equally spaced apart in the Y position. So now if we try it out, then as you can see, we have our laser turret icon. However, as you can see, the turret description is not correct because we don't have one for the laser turret yet. So let's go to the turret description sprite, and inside of the costumes, I'm going to right click duplicate, and I'm going to type out laser. Alright, then I'm going to center this horizontally, like over here. And then for the cost, I'm going to change it to 150. And that's pretty much all we need to do. So let's try it out. And if we hover over the laser turret icon, then as you can see, it says laser. Alright, so it seems like we have the laser in the shop completely working. And right now we can't place it because it costs 150. So I'm just going to go to where we set our cache. So that's in the enemy sprite. And I'm going to set the cache to like 1000. Okay, and now let's try placing our laser turret. And as you can see, it doesn't really work. And that's because we don't have the laser costumes in the turret or the base sprite yet. So let's first go to the turret costume. And then we have to click over here and then paint a new costume. And I'm just going to go to the turret icon sprite and inside of the laser icon and copy this turret part. Okay, I'll just copy the entire thing, but Control C, and then go to the turret sprite, Control V. Alright, and then I'm going to take out the base, and this is going to be our turret part of the laser. Alright, and I also want to add a firing animation like we have for the double and the basic turrets. So I'm thinking that the laser turret could charge up before firing. So I'm going to duplicate our current costume, and then to make it look like it's charging up, I'll just make one of these a bit brighter, like this. Okay, maybe a bit more bright. Alright, and then I'm going to right click duplicate one more time, and make the second one also bright. Okay, and then this is going to be our firing animation. Alright, cool. And also I'm going to name the first costume laser, and we should be fine. Alright, so now inside of the base, I want to create a new sprite. So paint, and then I want to Control V and only have the base. All right. And then lastly, I'm going to change the name to laser. Okay, so let's try it out. And now we should have the laser turret over here, and we do. However, the turret range does not seem to be showing, and that's because we're missing a few scripts in the turret code. So let's go inside of the turret sprite, and then into the code. And under this by turret block, we want to add a new if else block for the laser turret. So I'm going to right click and duplicate this if turret type equal to double, and then put this inside of the else, and change this to if turret type is equal to laser. Then I can set the turret reload, view radius, and damage, and stuff like that. So I'll make the turret reload like, let's say like 0.3. And then view radius, I'll make it a bit larger, so 120. And then damage, I think I'll set it to 2 instead of 1. And now we should be fine. Okay, so if we try it out, then we should have the view radius, and we do. All right. However, it still shoots like a normal turret, and we don't want that. So let's go to the shoot animation custom block over here. And this is where all the turrets do the shooting. So I'm going to right click and duplicate this if turret type equal to double, and then have one for the laser. So I'm going to drag this inside of the else and change this to if turret type is equal to laser. Okay. So right before the laser is about to shoot, I want it to switch costume to costume 3, which is this first charging up stage of the laser, because there's one of these rings that are light. So I'm going to switch costume to costume 3, and then I'm going to wait. Let's make this a lot longer, so I think let's wait something like 0.3 seconds. And then I want to switch costume to costume 6, which is the second stage of the charging up. And by the way, I might rename these to make these a bit more clear. So I'll call this charged 1 and then charged 2. Okay. So before the laser turret fires, it switches costume to charged 1 and then charged 2. And then I'm going to wait another 0.3 seconds. And then the laser tower is going to shoot inside of here. And this stuff is for the double turret, so we can just take that out. And then after the laser tower shoots, we want to switch costume back to the laser costume. So make sure to put it right after this if can shoot is equal to yes. All right, so if we just try this out, then when the laser sees an enemy, then it sort of charges up and then shoots like that. And I think that does not look too smooth though. So instead of this turret aim and shoot block being over here, I'm going to actually take this out and make the laser tower always aim at the enemy. So I'm going to remove this, and up over here in the turret aim and shoot part, the turret only aims at the enemy every few seconds because of this wait turret reload seconds block. So instead of this, I want to drag another when a star is a clone, and then a forever loop. And I want to check if the turret type is equal to the laser. So go to operators, grab an equals, and go to variables, and check if turret type is equal to laser. Then turret aim and shoot. So go to my blocks and drag the turret aim and shoot block. Okay, and now this block isn't stopped every few seconds because of this block. So that should be fine for the laser. And we don't want the laser to run this turret aim and shoot block. So I'm going to right click this if turret type equals to laser, duplicate it, and then go to operators, grab a not, and drag this inside of the not. So this just checks if the turret is not equal to the laser, then run the turret aim and shoot block. So drag this inside of the if, and drag it all back. All right. And one more thing I forgot to add is that I also want to check if the mouse action is not equal to selected, then run this turret aim and shoot block. So I'm going to drag an and then drag a not, drag this on the right side of the and then I'm going to right click duplicate this part, so the mouse action equal to selected, put this inside of the not, and then drag this turret type equals to laser on the left side, and drag this all inside of the if. So this part might have been a bit confusing, but pretty much all it did was that now the laser turrets constantly aim at the enemy. So let's try it out. So if we place a laser turret down, then as you can see, it smoothly follows the first enemy in range. And yeah, so now it looks a lot smoother, but now we want the laser to actually shoot once it's charged up. So to do so, we have to add some blocks inside of this if can shoot is equal to yes. So unlike the basic and double turrets, we can't just do deal damage when it wants to shoot, because the laser turret is actually going to be shooting a laser. So first of all, I actually want to drag this deal damage block inside of the if turret type is equal to basic, so right at the beginning here, and then also do the same to the if turret type equals to double, so right at the beginning here. Alright, so the laser turret itself won't deal any damage. However, it's going to create a clone of a laser sprite, which then deals damage if an enemy is touching that laser sprite. So I'm going to create a new sprite, and then I'm going to draw a laser that the laser turret will shoot out. So I'll use the rectangle tool, and then draw something like this. Okay. And then I'll center it and make the outline. All right, so this is going to be my laser costume. And make sure that the end of this costume sort of extends a bit past this gray area, just to make sure that it can cover the entire screen if needed. So make sure to do that. All right, and now we should be fine. So inside of the code, we want to make it so that this laser shoots out of the correct turret. So let's actually first go back to the turret sprite, and then when it's ready to shoot, let's first go to variables and then create a new list. So I'm going to call this something like laser X, and then click OK. And then also laser Y, click OK. And one more list, let's call it laser direction, and then click OK. All right, so when the laser turret is ready to shoot, we want to first add the laser turret's X position to the laser X list, and then I'm going to copy this, and then add the laser's Y position to the laser Y list, and then lastly, I'm going to add the laser turret's direction to the laser direction list. All right, so now whenever a laser turret shoots, the laser sprite is going to know where to spawn from. So now inside of the laser sprite, by the way, I'm just going to name this laser. Okay, I'm going to go to events and then drag a when flag clicked. And then I'm going to go to looks and hide the original laser sprite. And now I'm actually going to make this laser sprite create clones of the lasers. And the reason why I'm not making the laser turrets create clones of the lasers is because if two laser turrets were to shoot at the exact same time, then the laser sprite wouldn't know which turret to go to. So I'm going to first go to variables and then create a new variable. And I'll call this something like laser count number, or just laser number, and then select for the sprite only, and then click OK. All right, so when the flag is clicked, I want to set laser number to 0. And when I receive a new wave, I want to reset the laser number variable to 0. All right, and then now I'm going to go inside of events, or actually control, sorry, and then drag a forever loop. And I'm going to create a new custom block just to make this a bit more organized. So click make a block, And then I'll call this something like spawn laser clone or spawn laser clones. And then click OK. And I'm going to drag this spawn laser clones block inside of this forever loop. And now inside of this spawn laser clones block, I am going to go to control and drag a repeat until. And then inside of this repeat until block, I'm going to check if one of these three lists that we created, so I'm going to say the length of laser x, let's say, is equal to the laser number variable. All right, and then drag this inside of the repeat until. And by the way, I'm going to be explaining what this block does later, but first of all, let's first finish the code inside of the repeat until. So I'm going to drag a change laser number by and change it by 1. And then to make the clones spawn, let's go to motion and to make sure that it spawns in the correct direction and x and y position. So I'm going to drag a point in direction block and point in direction, go to variables and go to lists and drag an item of block and make it item laser number of laser direction. And then go to motion, drag a go to XY block and make it go to, I'm going to copy this part, item laser number of laser X, and then copy this part, item laser number of laser Y. And then lastly, go to control and create clone of myself. All right, so now I'll sort of explain how this code works. So before we do that, I'm going to first go to the turret sprite and make sure to delete these three lists when the flag is clicked. So I'm going to drag, or actually go to when flag clicked, and then delete all of these lists. So delete all of laser X, delete all of laser Y, and delete all of laser direction. All right. And then I'm also going to do the same when a new wave is started. So copy that. And then I'm going to try to find where the new wave is. I don't believe there is one. So let's go to events and then drag a when I receive new wave, then delete all of these laser lists. All right. Now I'll explain what this code does. So if we show the laser X, Y, and direction lists, and if we drag in some laser turrets, then whenever these turrets shoot, then they add their X, Y, and direction values into these three lists. And pretty much what this means is that now inside of the laser sprite, it's going to repeat through all of these items in these lists and then create clones of itself based off of each row of these three lists. So when this repeat until loop is first started, it's going to have a laser number of 0. However, now it changes by 1. So now laser number is 1, and that means that this laser sprite is going to point in direction of item 1 of the laser direction list, which is this, and then also go to X, the first item of laser X, and go to Y, the first item of laser Y. And then it's going to create a clone of itself, which means that the clone is going to go to those values. And now it's going to loop again, but this time set the laser number equal to 2. So now the laser sprite is going to go to the second item of laser X and the second item of laser Y and the second item of laser direction. And then it's going to keep on looping until it reaches the end of the list, which is why I did length of X equal to laser number. But again, it could be any one of these lists, so it could be like length of laser Y or length of laser direction. But yeah, so now we want the clones to actually show and shoot out. So I'm going to go to control and then drag a when it stars a clone and then go to looks and of course show it. And I also want to make the clone go behind the turret when it shoots out. So I'll try go backwards like 20 layers or something. And then once it appears, I'm going to go to control and make it wait something like 0.3 seconds before fading. So I'm going to grab a repeat after that and go to looks, and then change ghost effect by, let's say, 20, and then repeat 5 times. And that way, after it shows for 0.3 seconds, the laser sprite will fade away quickly. And then lastly, let's go to control and also delete the clone once it fades away. Alright, so let's try that out. Okay, and it seems like there's some laser clones over here. That's a bit weird. But I think to solve that, we could just add a wait 1 seconds block and then put it right before this forever loop and make it like wait 0.1 seconds or something. And now there shouldn't be any more random lasers. Okay. And now if we try it out, then let's see if this works or not. Okay, so as you can see, the lasers do shoot out in the correct position and direction. However, the lasers appear in the center of the turret instead of the edge of the turret. So inside of the laser costumes, we want to actually move this so that the left edge of this laser image is in the center, like this. So if you just click on this image and then hold the shift key, then you can move it left and right without making the image move up. So if you do that and then put the left edge in the center of this plus sign, then it should work. So like this. All right. And now if we try it out, then as you can see, we have a laser. All right, cool. And it does work for multiple turrets, like so. However, now we want the lasers to actually deal damage to the enemies. So to do so, let's create a new message. So I'm going to broadcast new message, and I'll call this something like laser hit enemy, and then click OK. And I'm going to drag this right when the laser clone is spawned, which is right over here. All right. And then inside of the enemy, I am going to drag a when I receive laser hit enemy. Then I'm going to drag an if and check if touching the laser sprite. Then, of course, I want the enemy to lose lives. So I'm going to go to variables and then go to the lists and drag a replace item 1 of block. And I am going to replace the clone number of the enemy of enemy health with, let's go to lists again, and then drag an item of block and put clone number inside of the 1. So item clone number of enemy health minus the laser damage. So go to operators, drag a minus, and then we want to subtract the laser damage over here. However, we don't have a variable for that yet, because even though we have the damage variable inside of this turret sprite, this damage variable is set to for this sprite only. So that means the enemies won't be able to use this variable. So instead, we have to actually go to variables and then create a new variable. And I'll call this something like laser damage. And then keep this for all sprites and then click OK. And then I want to minus laser damage in here and drag this inside of the width. Okay. And by the way, this block is pretty much the same block as the block inside of this turret sprite over here, where it deals damage to the enemy. So this is pretty much the same block. And oh yeah, so actually I forgot to do this, but you actually want to put the damage variable inside of this minus. So this way, if the basic or double turrets deal different amounts of damage, then it can actually deal that damage to the enemy. All right, so now that should be it for the enemy sprite. And one last thing I do want to add is to also make sure that the enemy is not touching the edge of the screen. So I want to add an and then drag a not inside of the and go to sensing, drag a touching edge, and then drag the touching laser on the left side. So if the enemy is touching the laser and it's not touching the edge, when it receives the laser hit enemy, then it's going to lose health by the laser damage variable. Alright, and now lastly, inside of the turret sprite, we do want to set the laser damage variable. So when the turret is bought, which is under here, then for the laser tower only, instead of setting damage, we want to set laser damage. So set laser damage to 2, and now we should be fine. So if we try it out, then as you can see, the laser damage destroys the enemies. And this enemy does only have 2 health, so it destroys it in 1 shot. However, if we made it to something like 6 health, then it should take 3 shots to destroy it. And I think it does. Yes, okay, cool. Alright, so now the laser towers deal damage. And everything still should work if we place the other towers down, like so. Alright. And everything seems to work with the laser towers. And just for fun, I'm going to try making the normal enemies have something like 30 health. And I'm going to also make myself have like 5,000 cash. And I'm going to try out placing a lot of laser towers. So let's see how this works. And now let's just try this out. Then, as you can see, we have multiple lasers, so that works. And they also damage multiple enemies. Alright, cool. So let's just play these waves out just for fun. And as you can see, all of the laser towers do their little charge up animation. And yeah, the new laser tower looks pretty good. And again, it works with the other towers as well. So yeah. Anyways, that's it for this tutorial. If you enjoyed it, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe too, if you haven't already. The next tutorial will be the final part of this entire series, so stay tuned for that. By the way, this project is shared on my Scratch profile. Link is in the description below. Anyways, that's it for this video. See ya!